title is Email Marketing is Your Secret Weapon, How to Boost Your Sales Without Spending Money. This is more slightly geared towards people that don't have a list and want to start one, or people that have a list and don't use it. But definitely you'll pick up some interesting nuggets with having a list and wanting better results. So let's go. So like Eliana so kindly introduced me, I'm Nikki, and I'm going to say some crazy things today, things that kind of fly in the face of conventional email marketing. And the reason I feel confident doing that is because I have seen behind the scenes at some pretty cool companies, what they do with email, help them with their email. And it's been this like thing for me to help small businesses get the same results that they're getting, obviously on a different level, to kind of take what they're doing and adapt it for small businesses. So, there's no reason that we can't tap into the power of email just because we don't have these huge teams. So taking what they're doing and then paring it down to work for what we are doing. Cool? Okay, so why email, right? Why am I not talking about Facebook? Why am I not talking about text message marketing? Why is email the coolest thing since sliced bread? Especially given the fact that the internet seems to think that email is dead, right? You just email, like Google email marketing, and you'll get tons of articles about how email marketing is dead, and email marketing is dead, and the new thing is TikTok, and the new thing is Facebook, and the new thing is Instagram, the new thing is texting, and the new thing, like, there's just, nobody wants to do email anymore. People think that email is dead. But email is actually not dead. The way that I like to think of it is that TikTok is more exciting. So TikTok is your like peanut butter cup ice cream. Email is going to be your chocolate and vanilla. Every cup, like ice cream brand on the planet is going to sell more vanilla and chocolate, even though they'll possibly get in more exciting, like they'll get in the news more, for their peanut butter cup. They'll get in the, they'll get more like new customers, but they're going to make more sales of chocolate and vanilla. So email marketing is not dead. Email marketing is vanilla ice cream. But that's just like my made up analogy, right? So let's get some hardcore stats. So ROI, email ROI is way higher than any other paid channel, not paid channel, anything like that. The like difference in ROI is staggering. It's crazy. So there's definitely that. But what about, okay, so your ROI is great, but like, are people actually still like, using email? Are people still checking their email? Are they checking anything else first? Like how does that fit in terms of distribution? Yes, email is still awesome in terms of distribution. Okay, but what about engagement? Is engagement good? Yes, engagement is good with email too. Retention, do people actually stick around and continue to open emails and stay on the email list? Yes, they do. There's stats for that too. And if that wasn't enough, then it's just, more stats on ROI and engagement and automation and personalization. And there's just so much goodness with email, and the numbers don't lie. It might not be the new exciting thing, but it is a core pillar for so many companies, and it should be a core pillar for so many companies, and it should be prioritized because it has so many amazing benefits. But let's forget about all those stats, right? COVID happened, these stats were pre-COVID, maybe things are different now. Just, I don't know, maybe just let's pretend for a minute that email is not actually better at engagement or ROI or retention or anything like that. It's just like equal, okay? So it's, you could choose to advertise on Facebook, you could choose to post organic content to Instagram, and you can also choose to send out emails, right? Okay, can we pretend that for a second, that like it's not actually better, it's just equal? Cool? Yes? Game of make-believe right now? We cool with that? Nothing's in the chat. Are we not cool with this? Yes, awesome. Awesome. We are cool. Woohoo. Oh, we're cool. KEWL. Nice. Okay, so there are still 3 reasons to prioritize email, even if email is not actually better in terms of ROI or engagement or retention or any of those things that we all just saw in the stats and the numbers. Why didn't my slide switch? There we go. There's my slide. So 3 more reasons to love email. Here they are. Ready? I'm waiting for everyone to say they're ready. No, I'm not really waiting. Number 1, you own your list. This is huge. This is number 1. I cannot stress or emphasize this enough. There are so many horror stories of companies that build their entire business on a social platform. And then, the Facebook headquarters decides to roll out an algorithm change and boom, they just lose their audience overnight. This has happened on every single platform multiple times. And these stories are not uncommon. Like they happen a lot where people spend all this time and effort and money to like build up likes, let's say. And then they change the algorithm and now you have to get followers. No, now you need private groups. Now you need to start paying for ads, changing and changing and changing. And they're losing all this time and effort and money building this audience. And now they have to start from scratch all over again. Pinterest recently decided that they don't want people repinning their, other people's posts. They want people creating their own new pins. That's a totally different business strategy than what people were doing previously. So all the leverage that they had, all the communities that they were building, all the strategy, just the processes and the workflows of how they would get engagement on Pinterest are now totally different. So they have to start from scratch again, not necessarily from scratch, but there's just like all of a sudden now they have to have a new strategy. So maybe you don't lose your audience, but you have to readapt and change your business model just because Pinterest decided that they're going to change things up. All these platforms can shut down your account if they don't like you. This has happened. We've heard about this. It's just, when you're renting space, you're renting the stage from another brand, talking to an audience that is yours, but is not really yours. So that's a risk. That's really risky. You really have to stay on your toes. You have to be prepared to pivot really easily. And you can't play by your own rules. When you have your own list, you own your information, you own your people, and you decide how and when to email, and no one can take that away from you. Cool. That's number 1. Number 2, you control your list. So when you have a list and you kind of own them, like this kind of piggybacks on the previous one, you can segment them and you can personalize your emails and you can add notes and you can tag them and you can put variables around who's what, and you can control your audience a little bit better. Whereas, if you're just sending out to the broad audience on a social media platform, you don't have that ability to customize and to personalize and to segment, to send something based on their previous actions. These are all things that make email really, really powerful because you're sending relevant messaging. So you're never going to send a product that somebody already bought to someone that already bought. And yes, you can set this up with audiences and things like that. But when you are doing it with your own email list, you have so much more control and the data is so much more accurate, and it's just so much easier to send relevant stuff, which gives you higher, better results. Cool. All right, next we have, you can use it for every stage in the customer journey. So one amazing thing about email is that it really follows your customer along. So when you're trying to build brand awareness, you can use email. When you're trying to acquire customers, you can use email. When you're trying to activate customers, you can use email. Retention, revenue, referral, every single one of the stages of the funnel, email works really well for all of them. Whereas with other platforms, you kind of have to play around and like do one thing at one point and one thing at another point, and what about at this point, and use like a whole like medley of tools. With email, you could just use it straight throughout, and it builds really amazing customer loyalty. So just as an example, these are each one sequence that relates to each stage. There are tens of sequences for each stage. So like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to build brand awareness, you partner up with an affiliate, you write them a sequence, you give it to them, they send it to their list, and then all of a sudden, all the people on their list know about you. If you're trying to acquire customers, you give them a lead magnet, they opt in, and then you nurture them. You tell them who you are, what you stand for, what you sell, and you nurture them, right? If you're trying to activate them, let's say you have a software or some kind of product that you're trying to get them to use, you send them an onboarding sequence, and that gets them to understand your product and use your product and activate and start using your product. Retention, you can upsell them on another product. So you're trying to keep them as a customer, you're trying to get them to buy again, you send them an upsell sequence. Obviously for revenue, you send them a sales sequence. And then referral, if you want referrals, you can send them a referral sequence. There's just so many different sequences for each of the stages in the funnel that really builds on the loyalty and keeps them around and keeps them excited about you and keeps them doing whatever action it is that you want them to do. So, have I convinced you that email is something you should prioritize? Let's see, what do you think? Personally, I think that I haven't yet, but yes, okay, I have. So tomorrow you're building your list? Yes. So the reason that I think I haven't convinced you is because you're worried about actually sending the emails, right? Because we get told by so many people that you should send emails X number of times a day, a week, monthly. People will often say that monthly is your minimum, like you have to send once a month at least. And then biweekly is if you can't stretch yourself to do weekly, but you should really be doing one time a week. And then you'll also get people that are like, you have to email 3 times a week. And then there are the people that say you have to email daily. So there's a lot of confusion about how often you have to email. And there's also a lot of pressure on you have to email often. And that's also at a big dichotomy of, but I don't have what to say that often, and they're gonna unsubscribe because I'm gonna be bothering them. So I want to make this no pressure and make it easier for you to start your email marketing so that you keep doing it, because it really is powerful and awesome and amazing. So I want you to forget about broadcasts and newsletters. Don't get tripped up on the fact that you have to email weekly and what am I going to say and what content do I have to create and what do people want to hear about? But I kind of have to sell them, but they don't want to be sold to, and what I'm saying has to tie into my product. Otherwise, why are they even here? There's just so much anxiety around sending newsletters and broadcasts and all that kind of stuff. So instead, what I want you to focus on is automations. So what's an automation? An automation is when subscriber does an action, you send them a series of emails, subscriber does another action. Typically, that last action is getting them to buy. So they're kind of money makers, but there are a lot of different types. So the one with this image here with the cart could be your cart abandon sequence. This is a very popular sequence among e-commerce companies. 26% of people that will abandon cart. So abandon cart is when you go to a site, you fill everything, you put a bunch of things into your cart, you start filling out your information, you're about to hit buy, and then you leave for whatever reason. So they trigger an email saying hey, you forgot your cart. And then another email that says do you have any questions? Can we help you? Another email that reminds you about how awesome this stuff is. Another email with a discount. If you send one abandoned cart email, your 26% of people will complete their purchase across the board. So it's not you, but one email just to remind them, no explaining why it's awesome and no giving a discount, nothing, just reminding them, you're going to get your people to complete your purchase. So it's a very powerful sequence. But if you're not an e-commerce company, there are plenty of other automations. When a subscriber opts in, you send them a welcome sequence. And that's your opportunity to tell your story, to explain what you do and how you can help them, and tell them about your services or products and help them choose which one they should use. You can have a post-purchase sequence. So obviously you're going to send them like order confirmation and shipping confirmation, delivery confirmation, but you're also going to kind of tell them why, make them feel really good for purchasing, right? Explain anything that they need to care about the product. Does it need to be stored a certain way? Does it need to be used a certain way? And then after they get their product, you can actually also start asking them for feedback, asking them for referrals. You can upsell them on another product, which leads me to upsell sequences. So after somebody buys something, then you can upsell them on another product. Win-back sequences, activation sequences. There are so many different sequences, and they're so much easier to do because they're based on the customer's action. So it's not like you're sitting down at the computer and saying, I have to churn something out weekly. You're just looking at what your subscribers already do and meeting them where they are and saying, okay, they did this action. Now it's my turn to guide them through that process. They just opted into my list. Why did they opt into my list? What do they want from me? Let me guide them through that process and help them get to the action that they want and the action that I want, which is to buy. So the fact that automations often end in selling is a little scary for people. It's kind of like, what? Like I'm supposed to just, people are supposed to join my list and I'm supposed to sell to them? Like, don't I have to give value? Like I need to deliver value, right? But the thing is that you're not building a list to build an audience. This is not Instagram where you just want followers. And even the people on Instagram that are building followers don't just want followers. They want followers so that people can, give them sponsored items and sponsored posts, and so that they can make money, right? You're putting in all this effort, you have to make money from it. You're building your list to sell your products. If the people on your list don't like being sold to, as long as you're being respectful, you're not being spammy, all that kind of thing, then why do they deserve your free content? The whole reason you're building all this free content and giving all this free content is that so you have the right, you earn the right to start selling to them, right? So they earn your free content by you being able to sell to them. Like they're giving you permission to sell because you're giving them free content. So yes, eventually you have to deliver value. We'll get to that in a second. But this whole idea of like, I can't sell yet is a scary idea. We're very much scared of the idea of like, I don't want to be a sleazy salesperson and all that kind of thing. And you don't want to be a sleazy salesperson, but you don't only have to deliver value. You have a right as a business to sell your products to the people that are telling you they're interested in them. Am I making sense? Pin drops. Absolutely. Yes. Awesome. Amazing. Cool. Okay. Another thing that I will hear, I don't hear any no's, is that people need a certain number of touches before they will commit to buying. Because I'm right. So you've probably seen this, and every time I've seen it, it has a different number. People need 7 touches, people need 11 touches, people need 25 touches. And this definitely is true that different companies, different industries, different types of products, different price points of products need a different number of touches before people feel comfortable committing to buying. But yes, some people need time and brand touches, and they're not going to buy right away. But when your subscribers opt in or abandon cart or whatever action they're doing that then triggers the sequence, they are telling you that I'm interested in whatever it is that you are selling. So let's say they opt into a lead magnet on how to choose the best photographer, right? So they might not be ready to book you as a photographer because they have to learn to trust you. But the fact that they downloaded a lead magnet about hiring a photographer means they're interested in hiring a photographer. So you might need to educate them, which is the point of your sequence. That's why we don't just send them an invoice. We send them a series of emails to educate them and help them feel comfortable making their decision. But these triggers are telling us that they're interested in the overall idea of whatever it is that you're selling, and you just have to convince them to hand over the money. Especially if you have a low priced product that really, really solves whatever it is they need, then the friction there is so much less. And right after they do that action, they are a hot lead. They are excited. And it's silly to wait and not offer whatever it is that they're interested in, and to like hold back and be like, wait, I need to give you a few touches first. Even though I know that you're interested in hiring a photographer, I need to make sure that like I give you a few like pieces of value first, versus telling you that I'm available and you can book me if you want. Which is funny because in a sense, giving people what they want, even if they have to pay for it, is valuable. We have this idea that selling is different than giving value. Giving value, you can sell to give value, right? Like you can educate them to the process. And if someone's looking to hire a photographer, they want to hire a photographer, that is valuable for them. So waiting because you have to hit a certain number of touches, like you have to, you should, it's making them go cold. They were hot, they were interested, and now they cooled off. So definitely like giving them what they need in context of your product is a super awesome way of getting them to not need that many touches. Okay. Moving on. So you cannot just build a business on automations only. Although there are some companies that do this, I think they would do better if they also delivered value. And they're also very big companies, so I don't think it's adaptable to smaller businesses. But to start, you don't need to start with the campaigns. That can happen after. You need the value for retention. You need the value to keep them around. And also you want to qualify that the people that you're keeping around will be okay with you selling. They don't have to buy, but they have to be okay with you selling. But basically, if you're going to take the plunge, and actually start email marketing, and it's complicated and it's hard and there's so many pieces to it, and what should I be doing? And it's a commitment and all this kind of thing. So instead of, creating this whole detailed content strategy and filling up a content calendar and hiring a content team and theme newsletters and going through all this like processes that put so much friction in your way, just set up the automations that your customers go through. And then you can add this in, right? It's just so much lower pressure. I see in the chat that you can't see me. So I'm not sure. Eliana, can you see me? Cool, awesome. Okay, so basically, it's so much easier to start when you are starting with automations. All you need is a reason that people should opt into your list, a form for them to opt into, and a sequence. That's it. And then you'll start seeing that your readers are turning into customers, and you're going to be motivated to keep them because you're like, wow, these are cool people. They're buying my stuff. Let me keep giving them more value. You'll also get a sense for who they are and what they want, because they're going to be real people instead of this idea, this avatar of like, okay, my content strategy is going to be XYZ. You're dealing with real people. It's going to give you so much more valuable, realistic data to then create your emails around. I actually just sent an email to my list recently where I was kind of like, my email list has shifted lately where, I started a long time ago and I didn't know what I was doing, and I just started some automations. This is exactly what I did. I started some automations and then I just started emailing weekly. And now I'm seeing that the people on my list are kind of different than who started coming to begin with. And I'm feeling like I need to shift my strategy a little bit. So once you're dealing with real people, things change. And you'll have what to put your campaigns around. You'll have what to create your broadcasts on, because the people will be talking to you and creating conversations where you'll know what to be emailing them. And it's so much lower pressure. So once you start with automations, it's just easier to then do campaigns. You know what they want. You know what you can be talking about. and you'll be more motivated because you saw these people turn into customers. So that was my soapbox. Let's recap. So email is amazing for ROI. We talked about how, it really pays you back more so than other channels, partly because it has a lower acquisition cost. It's so much cheaper to send emails, but also partly because it's just like really great in terms of conversions. Like you get your money back really nicely. It's also fabulous for distribution. Everybody gets email, so you are good on that front. Finally, there's a lot more. It's great for engagement. You can also, by the way, track your engagement. So you can constantly be improving so that your engagement gets better. You have control of your list, and you're also not going to lose your list just based on whatever the platform decides. And it's fabulous for customer loyalty. The best way to start is to use automations. Automations are your easy wins. You're going to see faster ROI. You are going to qualify good subscribers. So you're going to get rid of the people that can't handle you selling. You will do the work once. I have an automation, the first automation I ever set up, and I don't drive traffic to it. I don't anything, like haven't touched it in years. And every so often I'll get a sale in my inbox, like you just sold another blank. And it's so weird to me because I haven't done any effort. I set it up once, I put in the effort once, and then that's it. Versus sending out weekly emails, you have to put them out weekly. So automations are really great to just start because you do the work once and they're going to serve you forever. They also meet subscribers where they are. So if you started if you start your automation based on a trigger, based on something that they did, then you're helping them through that journey of whatever it is they're going through. If they abandoned a cart, I keep going back to this example, but it's like your best clear-cut example, then you're helping them through it. Like, why haven't they completed the purchase? Did they just forget and they were busy? That's a possibility. Okay, so the first email is a reminder, reminding them, hey, you wanted this product. But most times it's, oh, you know what? I don't know how much shipping is. This is too complicated. Or can I actually trust this brand that it's actually good quality? I don't know. So all the different emails in the sequence then walk them through like why and how they should continue with you. Every time you create an automation, you're supporting your subscriber through whatever it is they're going through. And they also give you time and motivation to actually do a proper content strategy and then start properly doing email marketing. Once you put an automation in place or a few automations in place, they're going to give you that motivation. They're going to give you that ROI so that you can then prioritize email even further and take it further. I have a nurture sequence outline that you are welcome to download from nikkielbaz.com/onlinex. Yes, I will put you into an automation. You could see it in action. I do also send weekly emails. So you're welcome to subscribe and get this nurture sequence outline, which basically walks you through what you should be, like possibility buckets of what you should be saying in each email after you're welcoming somebody. I know it's hard to start from scratch, so this can kind of give you ideas of what you should be saying in each email when you're welcoming people onto your email sequence. Because I want to see you guys starting your email lists and sending out automations and doing it. So you can also see this in action, in automation, weekly emails that came later, all that kind of stuff. So you could go download that now. And now, I know I threw like a ton at you. So I am very happy to take your questions.
Hey, Nikki, thank you. That was absolutely fascinating and eye-opening for all of us. And I'm going to go through some of the questions we've got from the panelists, but I think what's playing on everyone's minds is assume that you don't have an email list. Assume that you have nothing. Where should you start? You don't have a lot of money to invest in, a marketing agency, and you don't even want to pay for an email service provider. You're a small business owner, maybe not even in e-commerce. You're a service provider. You have a bunch of emails from customers. Where should you start practically?
Open up an account with MailChimp, ConvertKit. I would like to recommend ConvertKit just because they are more robust and they just started a free plan. So it's easier to start with whatever you're going to continue on. It's hard to migrate after you've grown, then you lose a lot of your data, or it's just a lot of work transferring a lot of your data. So ConvertKit is more robust long term. It's just going to let you build better automations. So you start with ConvertKit, open an account there, and then you set up an automation, a welcome sequence. What should you say in your welcome sequence?
Wait, sorry, let's just jump back a step. Where should you get your list from? You're a small business, you've got 50 people who you've, 100 people. Do you just plug those straight into your list? Do you go and acquire some? What do you start with? Do you just start with what you have?
So you have to get permission from your people. So if you have permission, great. If you don't have permission, send them an email asking them for permission. A lot of them will not give you the permission, not necessarily because they're not interested, but just because it takes a lot of effort to say yes to things. So you have to be very convincing for people why they should say yes to you. So definitely go take that challenge and get people to say yes to being on your list. But if they've already worked with you and they need to give you that permission and you're starting with automations, it's hard for me to see like what the value is, why they should be on your list. They might need to wait until you're sending out more value or until you have something specifically for them. I'm not sure. I mean, listen, try it. It doesn't hurt to try it.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think somebody asked if you could just break down what exactly an automation is. I mean, for people in the industry, it's very simple, but can you just break down what an automation actually is?
So it's basically a series of emails. That's all it is. It's a series of emails, but it's triggered by something. So it's triggered by them opting into your list, them downloading a free thing from your website, them making a purchase, them abandoning your cart, whatever it is. Like, why should they be getting these emails? Because they did action X. And then they get a series of emails, and that series of emails walks them through whatever it is that they're expecting and what you want from them. So that's where like the abandoned cart example came in, where you're walking them through that like purchase indecision and helping them make that purchase. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah. I mean, okay. So Linda wants to know, why is ConvertKit better than MailChimp? Everybody seems to use MailChimp.
Yes, everyone uses MailChimp because MailChimp was free for the longest. They have very good marketing, so they're just very well known, more than other free ones. ConvertKit is more robust, so it was more well known among people that take email marketing very seriously, and they just recently opened a free plan, so most people don't know about them, but they're amazing.
Okay. So then, Chaya says we can have different sequences. Sorry, it's just up here. They've already worked with us. Okay, she wants to know about different sequences for new customers, for returning customers, for sales sequences. Can you walk us through that?
Definitely. If that's not overwhelming for you, set up as many as you possibly can. I think I have like 384. So
you have 384 personal sequences.
Many of them have been deleted over time. They were like specific promotional sequences.
Okay.
But I think that's how many I've made in my like 3 years of doing my own list. I think so. I know, it's kind of crazy, but it just shows you the possibilities. Like, so yes, you should ideally, in an ideal world, you do want to be breaking it up into all these different, like you want to be doing all different kinds and you want to be doing different segments and all that kind of thing. Don't get overwhelmed though. Like if you just want to start with a welcome sequence and you just want to start with a post-purchase sequence. And post-purchase can work also, by the way, if you're a service provider. After they bought a service, walk them through what that service is going to be.
I love that. Can you give us an example? Let's go back to the photographer. Someone has a photo shoot with you. Okay, so kind of is very small business. Like this is not your e-commerce, which is I think a lot of our viewers are, the more small business side of service. walk us through a practical example of a automation for someone's clicks on your Facebook page, inquire now, or they book a service. They book a photo shoot.
They booked a photo shoot with you. So what do you typically want to tell your people after they book a shoot with you? You want to give them wardrobe suggestions. You want to, let's say they're doing it outdoors. So like what happens during weather? What are your policies like when it's raining? Helping them like understand, if they should, how their like kids can behave better and show up well in the pictures. So that's kind of like the educational component of it.
Okay.
And then there's also the technical stuff. So, you want to give them a confirmation of this is what's happening and here's the next steps and here's what we're going to do. So that would actually be email 1. Email 2 would be like an educational kind of thing. I think I would actually break up the educational into 2 different ones. So more of like, let's say like preparing for your shoot and then like making your shoot the best possible shoot, right? And then you can upsell them like, hey, do you want to actually add in another 15 minutes with my great lens? I don't know what photographers do to upsell, but I do know that they do have like different packages and things like that. So you can offer that. And then what happens after the shoot? So, walking them through like how long it takes to get their proofs back, copyright laws, all the different information that you need to give them to help them feel secure in their purchase and prepare for getting to the shoot and having a great experience. And then also another thing to do after the shoot is like ask them for a testimonial, ask them to refer a friend. Those are like 2 separate ideas for 2 different emails. So you're just kind of continuing that customer journey and helping them like feel happy with you and bring in more revenue or more referrals or that kind of thing.
And these things often feel really overwhelming for small businesses, but because it's automated, you set it up once.
Exactly.
And you now have an amazing relationship with them. You can upsell them and you don't have to be going and finding that PDF and plunking it into the email every single time. So you save much more time and you can focus on sales.
Yes, it's amazing. And also,
yeah,
a lot of times you have to be walking your customers through things and your clients through things and holding their hands and telling them all this information anyway. So like they'll call you up the night before and be like, I don't know what to wear. Well, if you had sent this out, set it up months ago and sent this out, then they have less stress and you have less stress because they're less panicked because they're more prepared.
Right, and it sets you up as a professional, it kind of, most people aren't doing that, and it really establishes your trust. And in 6 months you could send them another email, your kids are older, let's do a birthday shoot.
Yes.
Right? What I'm trying to kind of tease out of you is even for small business owners who aren't in the e-commerce model, there are still opportunities even for your 1, 2, 3 buyers to automate and to set up something which will serve you in the long run.
Yes. And a really great sequence for service providers is even before people book you. So if they inquire about your service, often what you'll just do instead, like the pre-automation sequence, you just send them follow-ups like, are you still interested? Are you still interested? Are you interested? Do you want to book? Or you don't follow up at all, which is another option, which doesn't really close sales. When you send this automation, then you're giving a lot more information of like why they should hire you, why they should say, yes, I'm still interested and I'm interested in you. So you're nurturing them to say yes, instead of just asking them if they want to say yes. And it can also feel a lot less scary. Like, yes, it's the time, but it's also like, once it's in automation, like it's done, it doesn't feel as personal, like, why aren't they responding to me? And why won't they close with me? And where did they go? Like, it's done. It's sent out and they can decide if they want you or not. They have all the information they need and you look like a professional and they should be hiring you. And if they're not, who knows why, but it's all there set up and like the emotional drain is gone as well.
Hold on, so I'm just missing a couple of messages here. Okay, they're asking about the POPI, that's the South African Law of Protection of Information. I don't think Nikki will know about that one.
Generally, with protection laws, the like overall rule, because there are so many different ones, is that you need to get permission for them to email them marketing emails. So you can send cold emails, by the way, without getting permission. But if you're sending promotional, like ongoing emails, You need permission, which they usually give you when they like download a lead magnet or, are inquiring about something.
Yes.
And then also you just have to have an unsubscribe at the bottom, which every, MailChimp, ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, they all have unsubscribes at the bottom anyway. So yeah.
We have a burning question from Dennis, which I think is a good one, especially as your numbers start growing. How do you stop your emails from going into spam or promotion? And if you can answer this, I think you have.
So I get a brownie.
A brownie. I think we'll give you a chocolate brownie cake.
Awesome. So I don't specialize so much in deliverability. There are definitely things you can do to make the deliverability, that you don't get into promotions, you don't get into spam. There's a big difference between promotions and spam. I personally, somebody actually asked me one time, she's like, if you're such an email expert, then why do your emails go into my promotional box? So I don't have such an issue with my emails going into promotions because I feel like that's honest. They are promotions. They are not a personal email that I'm emailing you one-to-one. It's a promotional email. I think it belongs in promotions. I know that not everyone likes that. So there are things you can do to kind of like trick Gmail into thinking that they're not promotions. And then also you can just ask your people, like, I don't want you to miss emails from me. I know that you care about the emails from me. So just mark them, label them as they should go into the inbox. If your emails are going into spam, that's different and that's not good. You don't want to be spamming. But generally, you're not going to land in spam if you're not doing anything spammy, which you don't want to do anyway, because that's not good for long-term loyalty. So, yeah.
Okay. We have, how do we write subject lines that lead to open or read emails? Okay, I think, Nikki, you are the perfect person.
Actually,
Nikki's subject lines are super awesome.
Thank you. Okay, so the best tip that I ever learned in terms of writing subject lines, which I resisted for so long, was to write 25 subject lines for every subject line that you have to write. 25, it's a lot. It's really a lot, and it really pushes you. And I've been doing it for a while, not that long, let's say like 3 months. And I'm still like, you still get stuck at like 18 and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to write more. How do I write more? And you just have to push yourself to write more. And then you're like, number 21 is like pure gold. And you're like, yes, that's amazing. I'm using that one. There's different formulas that you could use. Just Google like subject line formulas. And there's different styles. So, you could use curiosity subject lines, question subject lines, stats, quotes, like there's different types of subject lines. There's tons of blog posts on it and all that kind of thing. But the best way to get like a winning subject line is to try all of those by having to write 25 for every email you send out. So it actually ends up being less work because you're like, okay, this one's good, and then it performs well, and you don't have to work so hard to validate it and fix it and that kind of thing. So
I mean, I guess I'm just thinking a small business owner, email is something maybe they can devote 2 or 3 hours a week to. Mm-hmm. They can't write 25 subject email if you're not hiring an agency. I'm just thinking,
like, how many hours? The thing is once you start with form, like I'm not writing 25 from scratch. Like that totally does not happen.
Right.
Where I pull my 25 is like, what's the most interesting line in the email? Okay, now what's the second most interesting line? What are questions I can pull from the email? Like I am not writing 25 from scratch. No way. Like it literally takes me like 5 minutes to write 25. Like 10 if I'm like really struggling. You really want to just fly through them. You want to write your bad ideas down as counted as the 25, variations counted as the 25. So really just like, it should not take you long to do the 25, but you do want that like bucket of subject lines to pull from.
Right.
And again, I think
when writing website headlines, the kind of gold standard is also 25.
I thought it's 100.
100?
Yeah.
Minimum 25, but that's how you get it. Just get the 25 seems to be the magic number.
Yes. And a lot of times you'll be like, no, this one's perfect. I don't need to do 25. But then if you're pushed to do 25, then you're like, oh, this one's actually better. And sometimes your first was the best, but it just kind of gets you in the habit of like doing all different ones. So.
Okay, let's take one more question from Dennis. And I think this is really important, for people who are in the online space only. How do you avoid list and customer fatigue? So say your business is only online and you're constantly promoting new items, new services, new webinars, new talks. People are going to get bored of hearing from you. They're just like, oh no, another one. How do you balance that?
I guess just in terms of how relevant is what you're promoting to your people. Do you have to shift your offerings a little bit, or do you just have to continue to remind them of? So either you need help, like reminding them why you're relevant, or you need to shift and be more relevant. Like the fatigue is coming from a place of, this is not immediately important for me right now.
No.
And that could come from like, it never was relevant and it was kind of a little bit relevant, or I just didn't understand why it was relevant and I need help understanding, like, okay, this is really actually really important and I should prioritize that. That makes sense.
And would segmenting, say you have a relatively large list, would segmenting your list be part of that relevance?
Definitely. That's a huge one where, if you know that you
walk us through the segmentation and why that's so important.
Yes, if you know that all the people that you're talking to don't do e-commerce, then you shouldn't use abandoned cart sequence as your example. You're more relevant when you are able to segment and talk through like, okay, you're this kind of person, this is the content that you want, and therefore they'll open more. So yes.
So rather send more pointed emails to a smaller group of your big list than just send out these mass communications which aren't that relevant to that group.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyone have any more questions? Is there anything else you want to share? No, there definitely are people who are e-commerce, but I think service providers, really struggle with email because it's not as straightforward and it's not always set up for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think e-commerce has a different struggle in that they only send sales emails, and that it's hard to know what kind of content to put out because you're selling products. So like, how do you also give information? And then service providers struggle because number one, they're usually solopreneurs. So it's just hard to prioritize this kind of thing.
Yes.
And also it just feels like, yeah, like I'm a service, not a product. So what should I be emailing? Like, how do I set up these automations? So yeah, definitely.
I think I read this on one of your blogs or something about the email is really about a relationship and forming a relationship with your users, and it's got so much potential as a service provider to create a real relationship past a social media page, past a LinkedIn profile, past an Instagram post. You really can get pretty intimate and pretty close and personal with them. So that there's that opportunity also. You also see that.
Yeah, for sure. And like when you think about when you open an email, like when you open your inbox, it's so much more personal than when you see something in your LinkedIn feed. So it really is more one-to-one, even though it's not actually one-to-one.
Okay. Okay. Someone just asked this quickly, and then we'll take this at the last question. What are some good converting freebies to get signups? We call them lead magnets, but Nikki can quickly talk us through that.
So what are you selling, right? And you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're selling somehow ties into the lead magnet. So for example, the photographer example, if you want people to hire you for your photography services, then a great lead magnet is, how do you pick a good photographer? And then obviously all the different pieces of information point to you, where it is valuable, I once downloaded one for a web designer. I didn't hire that web designer, although I could have. I did actually talk to her. But it was valuable for me in that it told me things to look out for, but it was also valuable for her because it said, I do all these things that I just told you to look out for. So whatever your lead magnet is should tie into whatever it is that you're trying to sell. So for example, I have a lead magnet that is a customer interview template. If you want to request from your customers, you want to ask them, can you hop on a customer interview with me? It's just like a template for an invitation to get people to agree to an interview. And that triggers an automation that sells a packet for all the different questions that you can ask on a customer interview, what data you're trying, so like a customer interview packet. anyone that wants an invitation template is doing interviews and might want this packet. So it should tie into whatever it is you're trying to sell. So look at your product and then go backwards from there. What free elements can I give away that also ties into what it is that I am offering?